Welcome to r/slash F-YouKaren, where a Karen intentionally hits an ambulance with her car. Our next Reddit post is from Psychological Bid. I'm an EMT in a somewhat busy area. In the not too distant past, my ambulance was dispatched to a vehicle accident in the middle of the night. We roll up and, yep, it's a pretty bad one. Car versus deer. The car ended up off the road, through a ditch, and wrapped around a tree. The patient was still trapped inside the car, and the fire department was working to extricate. Due to the layout of the scene, the ambulance was pulling blocking duty on the road. My partner heads up to the accident to start rendering some on-scene care, and I hop into the back of the ambulance to start preparing for the inevitable show that this patient is going to be. As I'm getting my gear laid out, I hear a horn start blaring right behind my truck. Enter Karen. So it's not uncommon to be on a scene and then have someone roll up with a completely different emergency. I hop out of the side door of my truck, walk around, and Karen's car is literally bumper to bumper with the back of my rig. "I need to get through. Move," Karen yells at me. I very politely inform this person that we are not going to move, that this is a dangerous accident scene with injured people. I offer to help her get turned around. Big mistake. Karen goes into a literal screaming fit about how we have to move because we're blocking the road, which is kind of the point, and how she pays my salary, even though she doesn't. I work for a private company. At this point, I'm a little less polite, and I tell her that she needs to back her vehicle up because she's blocking my ability to work. At this point, things get stupid. Rather than be an adult and find a different route, this oxygen thief pulls forward even more. She's not only bumper to bumper, she hit my ambulance and has the most smug grin ever. Enter my friend, the state trooper. He's been watching this cavalcade of idiocy from the sidelines. And as soon as Karen hits the ambulance, he springs into action. Karen basically gets snatched out of her car and put in handcuffs, screaming all the while. Karen's gone, but her car isn't, and her car is still blocking the rear doors to my rig. Did you know that 6 firefighters can bodily lift a Ford Focus completely off the ground and relocate it? I witnessed that day. It was great. Thus ends my Karen story. And good news, the accident victim survived. Granted, with more than a few broken bones. Karen discovered that interfering with emergency services is a felony in my state. Also, the fire department got to flex their muscles. On this next post, someone has a coexist sticker on their car, and someone tapes this note to their car. "Out of respect for the Christian community, I request that the cross be left out of this sticker/message because our beliefs do not support it. And so, our cross is being mistreated in this. Thank you for the understanding. With love, the Christian community. Jesus loves you." Posted to Nextdoor, which is a neighborhood app. Disrespecting vegan radius. Last night at around 6:30 p.m., we spotted our neighbors in their backyard barbecuing what looked like raw flesh. We're vegan. We've had in-depth discussion with our neighbors about veganism and the importance of a vegan community and the importance of living in a meat-free radius. Not only was it disturbing to watch, but the scent wafted into our house minutes after. To each their own, but I'm feeling unsure about what to do next. How would you respond to this? I would love to spark a discussion. On this next post, Karen books a table at a restaurant in a French-speaking country and gives this review. Review, 1 star. I tried to book a table for my daughter's birthday party. Unfriendly service, they refused to speak a language other than French, and they weren't willing to offer any special treatment for my daughter on her special day. Absolute disappointment. Review, 1 star. Worst experience in a restaurant ever. After driving up from Eau Claire and flying in from Los Angeles, we were thrilled to go to Blank to see the sights on Mother's Day, only to have our Sunday ruined by the rudest bartender. Shortly after we were seated, a bald bartender took our drink order and we asked about the drinking rules for my daughter who turned 21 in a month. He acted as if I just slapped him in the face. He then served my 48-year-old sister a drink and she let my daughter have a sip just to test the flavor of the fruit. I was about to taste the drink as well when the bartender stomped over, ripped the drink from my hand and told us we had to leave. He kicked 3 ladies out on Mother's Day. We were about to spend $150 on their very limited menu. He was aggressive and rude and absolutely over the top. We will never enter this establishment again. Come on, lady. If they had to choose between $150 or a liquor license, the liquor license always wins. School is starting again, and that means that we once again need a nanny. Please read all of these requirements. You need to have a master's degree. You need to have a master's degree or higher so that our 5-year-old and 7-year-old will be intellectually challenged. I have a feeling this woman's family is indeed intellectually challenged. And no, your Bachelor of English doesn't mean that you're smart. Sorry. You must be between 24 to 28 years of age to keep up with the activity level of our kiddos. And please plan to have your own housing. Do not assume that you will be staying with us. Yes, we do have an extra room, but the privilege is earned, not assumed. We need you from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. every weekday, and the pay will be $18 daily. Plan to bring snacks or other food for the kiddos because our cabinets will be locked during the day while we work. You'll also need to bring educational materials such as workbooks, as we do not keep anything like this at home. Thanks. Let me just say real quick that as someone who earned a bachelor's degree in English, this is a pretty high-paying job for that degree. Asking for a friend. I love my 7-year-old son's name, Andrew, but I hate the nickname Andy. When we named him Andrew, we agreed to only use the long version and never the nickname. We moved over the summer, and somehow he's become Andy in his new school. I made an appointment with the teacher to discuss the situation. She apologized and said that she would call him Andrew. She said that she would make a class announcement. As you can imagine, this has been totally ineffective. All the kids are still calling him Andy. I made another appointment with the teacher, but she wasn't helpful. She said that Andrew never objects to being called Andy and sometimes even introduces himself as Andy. To me, this is irrelevant. He is 7 years old. I am his mother, and I get to decide what people call him. She's not willing to correct the other students in the moment when they call him Andy. I would like to take this matter to the principal. My husband feels like I'm overreacting. If we don't get this under control now, he'll be Andy for the rest of his life. Down in the comments, we have a similar story from Sporkadork. My cousin's wife, who is hated by all the cousins and family alike, did the exact same thing with their daughter, Bethany. She rants on and on about how it's Bethany, not Beth. Yep, you guessed it. Anytime any of us addresses that kid or sends a card, a Christmas card, or an event invite, it's to Beth. We all call her Beth to her face. The wife has actually stormed out of family gatherings over it. The funny thing is, the kid doesn't even care. She's fine with Beth. At school, she goes by Beth, and all of her cousins call her Beth too. Our next Reddit post is from Deleted. I'm an oncologist, meaning that I specialize in cancer and cancer treatments. About 12 years ago, I ran into a Karen. I diagnosed a patient with a fairly aggressive but treatable form of leukemia. I had taken the patient into my office, and since he was a minor, I had his mom accompany him. I went over treatment details and such, and generally had a good talk to them about what was going on. Now, I was born in Norway, raised by a Nordic pagan mom and dad. Because of this, I have artwork of Mjolnir hanging in my office. The Karen eventually asked what it was, and I explained it, its meaning, and why I keep it in my office. Karen did not take very well to this. Her next remark was, "Oh, so you're a God hater. How do you suppose my son is going to get through this with an atheist satanic bag as a doctor?" These are her actual words. I remember it like it was yesterday. For the record, I made absolutely no mention about God or anything. I calmly explained to her that I had absolutely no hate towards anyone's religion at all, to which she replied, "Yeah, so I think we're just going to see another doctor. We'd rather have a better opinion than from someone who doesn't give an F about if someone lives." Thrown off, I said that it was probably good to get some secondhand opinions on treatments anyway. Then she stormed her and her son out. She ended up going to a hospital across town to a doctor that I've known for years. That doctor told me his side of the story. She went in and told the doctor her son's diagnosis and that she wanted to discuss treatment options. She said that she didn't like the feel of the first doctor, but she didn't say my name, and that's why she was looking for a new doctor. After discussing treatment options with her, she said, "Yeah, that's what the other moron said too. Is there a place to get another opinion?" on top of some other very aggressive words. That doctor recommended her to me. For the record, I've never had another situation like this since. Apparently, her son told her that he liked me and he wanted to give me a shot. She caved. Through our multiple sessions, she would tell me how she didn't believe that her son was going to make it from a God-hater, and that her son was going to die because of me. This agony went on for months. After a bit under a year, her son was cancer-free. At a 5-year checkup, now over 18, he thanked me for everything that I've done, and he asked me if he could have the artwork that his mom freaked out about. He had apologized many times over her behavior in the past, and was a very fun kid to be around in dark times. He was one of my favorite patients of all time. I said no, but I knew a blacksmith in Norway. I had him hand forge a Mjolnir necklace, and I gave it to the patient, and as far as I know, he wears it every day. He's training to be an oncologist one day, and I saw his university on social media post a photo of him with the necklace that I gave hanging off his neck. Just because someone's a Karen doesn't mean they raised one. Review 2 stars. My husband and I were extremely disappointed in this tour. We didn't come to hear a lecture on how white people treated slaves. We came to get the history of a southern plantation and get a tour of the house and the grounds. The tour guide was so radical about slave treatment that we felt that we were being lectured and bashed about slavery. My ancestors were from Sicily, never owned slaves, and my husband's were German, and none of his ever owned slaves either. I am by far not a racist or against all Americans having equal rights, but this was my vacation. And now we're crossing all plantation tours off our list. It's just not what we expected. I'll go back to Louisiana and see some real plantations that are so much more enjoyable to tour. Yo, what? She wanted to see the history of plantations, like what history that doesn't involve slaves, man? That is the history. And how were they upset that the tour guide was radical against slavery? What is the radical position against slavery? I don't like it. Slavery's bad. Let's not have slaves, guys. Is that a radical position? Our next Reddit post is from Bad Mama. I am so livid. We have a neighbor that has a little girl around the same age as my little girl. They've become great friends. Every day, either my daughter would ask to go play with her, or she would ask me if my daughter could play. And my neighbor would always say how much they loved having my daughter over, and how polite she is, and how she's such a good kid. My neighbor made me believe that we were becoming friends, and I trusted her with my kids. I also have a toddler son, so I trusted this lady to babysit my kids one day so I could pick up an extra shift. The next day, Child Protective Services shows up at my door. The date of the complaint was the day that my neighbor babysat. The complaint said that I neglect my kids because they're filthy and my daughter's hair is messy, so I obviously don't bathe them. The complaint also said that my house is unsafe due to there being trash everywhere. My kids play outside every day because it's summer. My daughter goes over there to swim. So yeah, they're gonna get dirty and her hair's gonna get messy. So WTF? I told the CPS worker, of course my house is gonna be messy. We actually live here. I have 2 little kids and I work. The CPS worker did a walkthrough of my house and talked to my daughter. The worker said, "Could your house be cleaner? Sure, but is it unsafe? No." She even told me that her house gets messy and her kids are older than mine. She made sure that my kids have a safe sleeping area, which they do. She made sure that we have food and running water, which, again, we do. She heard no concerns from my daughter. She told me they have to keep the case open for 30 days. Then she'll let me know after the 30 days if the case would be closed, which she said is more than likely because she found nothing wrong. Too long didn't read. My Karen neighbor called CPS on me for my kids being dirty after playing outside during the summer. Down in the comments, I'm going to read this post from Ellie Green Bells because even though it's not super interesting, I do feel like it's great advice. I'm an attorney who routinely deals with situations like this one. There are trigger-happy people who call CPS and the police because they love the attention. It's a game. It's an abuse of the system. And once they start, they keep doing it. For example, next will be a restraining order against you because she feels threatened or whatever. Just stay clear of her at all costs, and do not get into any back and forth conversations no matter how much she gaslights you or insane she gets. Make an invisible border, and don't make any announcements about not being friends anymore. No drama, no confrontations. Just be permanently busy forever, because people like her are dangerous. Posted to Facebook. We all want to do what's right for our kids. I'm a real mom who doesn't vaccinate. My son is currently 2 months old. I'm in the hospital with him right now. He's positive for pertussis, and they're telling me that he got it from my unvaccinated daughter. I've been mom-shamed all day, but I stood my ground on our beliefs. Has anyone else's child got some horrible disease because they don't vaccinate? Please comment. My baby is really suffering, and it's horrible to watch. I need some encouragement that I did the right thing. Man, imagine dying before you're old enough to talk just because your mom believes stupid Facebook memes. What do you do when you go to a restaurant and your waiter is an atheist? Normally, I would pay without leaving a tip and write a bad review on Google. This past weekend, I decided to be more proactive. I ordered the chicken livers, and when the atheist brought it to the table, I insisted that I had ordered steak. I made that loser take it back to the kitchen and make me a steak. Then I complained to the manager about the atheist and skipped out on the bill. Establishments need to be taught that it's not okay to hire atheists. Isn't there something in the Bible about thou shalt not, what is it? Take things that don't belong to you? Steal, that's what it was. That was rSlash and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.